Hello, everyone, and welcome to Breakthroughs with Bree. On this podcast, we are discussing all of the topics that help us have breakthroughs on our personal and spiritual development journeys. My name is Bree, otherwise known as Healing with Bree, and I'm a channeler, energy healer, tarot reader, astrologer, and soul alignment coach. My mission in my work and in this podcast is to help teach people how to shift their consciousness, how to heal, and how to release beliefs and patterns and fears of their ego mind so that they can step into alignment with their soul to live lives of abundance, purpose, and bliss. In these episodes, I will be sharing either through my own lens and my own channel or through the experiences of my guest, wisdom and expertise about healing, spirituality, psychology, personal growth, holistic wellness, mysticism, consciousness, and so much more. My hope is that these conversations help you feel seen and provide support and inspiration for you with your own personal breakthroughs. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Breakthroughs with Bree. Today we have our September energy forecast, which is so exciting because if you didn't know, my birthday is September 1st, and this is coming out on September 2nd, which means when you're listening to this, it's technically the week of my birthday. I'm a Leo Venus. Us Leo placements love a birthday. Maybe all Virgos love a birthday too, but I'm officially in my birthday season. The sun is illuminating the part of my chart where my sun, my Mercury all resides. And so long story short to that, if you don't really know anything about astrology, is that I'm feeling good, that it is feeling like such a great time. And so I'm so excited to tap into whatever messages that the guides have for us about this month, both of course for myself as well as for all of us, because so far Virgo season is feeling pretty freaking good. And I'll just say too, even if you are an astrology beginner, okay, and you have your chart somewhere, I highly recommend the app Time Passages. Wherever the sun is illuminating your chart is where there's actual conscious, mindful illumination in your life. Okay, so the sun represents our conscious awareness, the things that feel important, even if you can think of like how the sun lights up the parts of the earth that it's shining on, right? Where the sun is moving through our chart is where we're feeling that almost like somebody turned on a light, right? It's feeling like, a little bit more clear. I'm a little bit more connected and expressed in that. Okay. So for when we have our solar returns, the sun is illuminating the place in our chart that is aligned with where we authentically shine, where we are the most ourselves, where we're the most expressive. And I love that I get to have my sun season like right at the end of Leo season, because Leo is the zodiac sign that's ruled by the sun. So they really embody this whole concept of just shining out your most authentic self, just be really bold, be really courageous, and just be full volume you. So we get a whole like lesson of that during Leo season. And then it's my sun season where I get to take those lessons and then just be like the fullest me. And let me tell you, August, the energy was so freaking intense. The Lionsgate portal the week after and all of the stuff that was going on with the astrology and the numerology. And then we got that full moon, which feels like all of that energy that had been building and building and building for weeks, like hit its pinnacle. And it was an intense couple weeks there in August. I will say I learned, and I feel like energy shifted in a really, really, really big way for me. And after that full moon, it felt like everything released and things like finally clicked into place. And I feel freaking on fire. And again, maybe for me, that's because the sun is like moving past my Venus where I'm creative, I'm enjoying things that I have in Leo, then into the place of my chart where my sun and my Mercury resides. Like, it's a fun time. So I hope that that's not just for me. I hope that's for you guys too. At the very least, feeling a little bit of reprieve from this last month. And I'm so excited to tune in again to like the specific messages that the guides have for the energy that's coming up for us in September. I'm really excited to tell you guys about the September community breakthrough call. Essentially, I'd been feeling the push from my own intuition, from my own guides, a desire in my own heart to be able to make the coaching that I do accessible to more people. And I had this idea of doing a community coaching call once every month where for $7, like literally 7, single digit, you get to get access to, we do about an hour, sometimes a little over an hour into 90 minutes of a coaching call with everybody who comes online. We start doing a little bit of a channeled message, doing a little bit of breath work, and then we get into the questions that whoever's on the call has. So you get the opportunity to ask your own question, maybe about a situation or something you're working through with your intuitive or personal development, right? And you get to benefit from the questions and answers that everybody else is asking. It was crazy in the first call that we did in August. Everybody everybody was saying that they related to all of the questions that everybody else asked. So even though, technically maybe they only asked one question, they felt like they got answers to every single person's questions, even for themselves. And it's such a fun way to be able to start to get to know different people who are in this community and in this world, because you all are so special and you're incredible. This month's call is going to happen on Sunday, September 8th. So it'll be the Sunday after this episode airs at 5 p.m. PST, and this is happening virtually on Zoom. So if you want to sign up for a ticket, go ahead and check out healingwithbree.net, or you can check out the link that's in this description. That's my link tree, and you'll be able to purchase a ticket for that and be able to join our monthly community breakthrough call, which is essentially a group coaching call with this fabulous community. And my last thing before we jump into the channeled messages is that I'm officially having some of my digital content available. We're starting with a free guided meditation for connecting with your higher self and getting their perspective and their guidance on any situation that you have in your life. And then I'm going to have my soul powered course out so soon, which you're definitely going to be hearing so much more about. You can access anything that I have available in this kind of like digital content, this digital resources. On my website, I now have an option in my main menu that says library. That's going to be the library of any of those resources that are available, whether I'm selling or that they're free. And on my homepage on my website, healingwithbree.net, there's a banner like right at the top on the homepage that says Access Bree's digital library. So if you want to start leveraging these tools that I'm channeling through and that I'm creating for all of you, go check that out. And of course, sign up for the email list, because I'm going to be announcing there whenever there are new offerings. There's going to be this main sort of signature course of Soul Powered, but then I'm going to start creating like little mini courses for all of the main questions and things that I get, not only from just interacting with you guys, but that I see a lot in my Akashic channeling sessions, etc., so that you guys can feel supported and that you can start to make progress in all of these areas right away. I'm definitely feeling my guides wanting me to plug into the Akashic Records again, so I'm going to take a minute to do that, and we're going to be back with all of the goods about what we can expect in September. All right, Akashic Record Keepers and Guides. What would you have us know about this energy that's coming up in the month of September? So what I'm seeing is a blooming flower. It feels like a lot of the shifts that we experienced in August, we're rooting down now. It feels like in this cycle of growing and expanding that we're all here to do, there's kind of like different phases of the cycle, right? At the beginning, it might start with a curiosity or with a clarity of desire. So like there's something that we feel like we want, that we feel like we want to move towards. And that in itself tunes us in and plugs us into a certain energy that we get to receive. And then we start to receive, we start to feel activations, we start to feel downloads, we start to feel perspective shifts, and we're like, oh my gosh, and like we kind of like pull in this brand new energy. And when that energy starts to come in, it also makes very clear what needs to move. So we start to feel a little bit of friction or a little bit of tension with old versions of ourselves that have to alchemize, that have to shift, right? Old beliefs that aren't true, old energies and emotions that are stuck in our body. And so we feel a little bit of that tension as they come up, and they have to move out in order for this new energy to really start to sink in. And then as they start to move out, there's more room for that to move all the way down our body, all the way down into our lower chakras. And it feels like that's the place where it starts to take root, right? It starts to really settle, not only into our bodies energetically, but into the way that we think about the world and the way that we act in the world, right? Like we start to incorporate it as a part of our routine, and it starts to feel like second nature. And then through some of this like repetition of really being in and acting in this energy, we have, maybe sort of like last minute, I say as if it's not with us forever, but we kind of have some like, last little like realizations about, whatever this new thing is that we've really downloaded into our experience. And then it feels like it really fully kind of like shifts into our subconscious mind. That's what they're saying. And it becomes a part of us. And then we kind of like move into a new cycle. Yeah. And it feels like that last part of us, starting to incorporate these things into our routine and starting to feel the benefits of this new energy that we've made room for is where we're going to have the opportunity to do in September and, the majority of Virgo season and the beginning of Libra. They're saying that they really want us to tap into the energy of ease. Like even as you hear that word, let the energy of that concept like seep into us, spread through us. They're like, all of this could actually be easy. And so many of you are desiring lives that feel like they're more full of ease because your higher self, your intuition, your soul knows that there's so much more ease available to you than you let yourself tap into. And again, in that process, that cycle that they described at the beginning, like it starts with our desire of something that we sort of get moved in the direction of receiving and accepting and integrating whatever that thing is that we desire. So the fact that so many of us would say, like, I just want things to feel easy. Like, I don't want to have to work as hard. I don't want it to feel clunky and heavy and like there's friction and that it's difficult or that it's pain. Like, I just want it to be so smooth, effortless, relaxed, and just open and flowy, right? Like that's how we want it to feel. And the guides and the Akashic Record Keepers, they want to challenge you to set that as an intention if that resonates for you with where you're at personally, to learn and to embody how you can be more in a state of ease. This is something that I, Bree, talk about a lot, about how when we relax, when we let ourselves move through things easy, what's happening is we're actually expanding. We're expanding our channel. We're expanding like our heart. Right? And when we're in really deep fear and anxiety energy, when we're in resistance to things, when we're in suffering, when we're in judgment, when we're in shame, all of that contracts us. And if you're not watching on video, I'm literally like tensing my shoulders up and bringing my arms in and like hunching over. Like it contracts us, right? And it contracts our channel. And our channel is where we receive guidance from our higher self and from our soul and from our spirit team. So our ability to access that guidance feels a lot harder. And that channel can also be sort of representing in how we receive the blessings that want to come to us. We make it harder for those things to come in because we've shrunk the space that they can come and move to and through us, right? So there's so much benefit to learning how to relax, open up, and tap into that easeful energy. And I'm hearing the guides say, a lot of you might hear that and be like, yeah, but like shit's really hard right now, so I can't really just sit back and relax. Okay, so how can you make the difficult stuff easier so then I can feel at peace and at ease? And they're wanting to acknowledge how real that feels, but that is an example of when we have it backwards, okay? When we think that the external world is what is controlling not only what we feel, but what we are able and capable of feeling. I'm going to say that again. We have that backwards when we think that our circumstances externally are what dictate what we can feel right now, what we are feeling, and what we can feel. So in this example, if there are circumstances that your ego minds have judged as hard, as bad, as difficult, if that's a situation that you identify with, and if you are still living in the 3D ego, sort of like 3D world conditioning, then your ego mind judging and labeling your experience as difficult right now sort of sets off a chain of events. It sets off like a domino effect, right? And part of that domino effect is you feeling some level of suffering, you feeling some level of like negativity, and you probably feel some of those negative feelings and say that the reason why you feel them is because of the situation. The situation has made you feel stressed. The situation has made you feel dejected. The situation has made you feel fill in the blank. And the guides do want to acknowledge that there is a connection that's happening in your brain between how you're labeling the situation and therefore how you're perceiving it, how you're interpreting the situation, and then emotions that get triggered in your body. Of course, there's a connection between the two of those, but the situation is not making you feel that way. And it's really important that we step into a different way of relating to the world around us if we want to find our power in creating the experiences that we want. If we want to feel peace, if we want to feel confidence, if we want to feel free from anxiety, if we want to feel like we can, create ideal circumstances, like we have to shift the way that we interact with ourselves in the world. We have to, or else we're going to keep experiencing the same thing. And the guides, again, really want to make a point to say, it's not what's happening that's causing you to feel anything, period. They're saying that it's a pattern that you have of relating to this kind of circumstance in the way that you are that is really what's responsible for generating the feeling. And notice I said the pattern is what is responsible for generating the feeling. And here's another clarification point they want to make. Just because you are feeling some sort of like negative emotion does not mean that you're doing something wrong. Like you might hear me explain this and that, you know, it only feels miserable because you're relating to it that way. And that like the whole point is like, don't be miserable, so relate to it different. No. That also feels like something they want to clarify. The point is like not to escape any negative emotion ever. That's not the point. At least not from the way that I do this sort of like healing and, you know, coming into greater joy and coming into greater abundance and coming into purpose and like all of that work that I do myself and with my clients and therefore the perspective that messages come through me and to you guys through. It's not to avoid all the bad stuff. It's just to stop identifying the bad stuff as me. Stopping identifying the bad stuff as truth. You can experience the negative emotions and they're so important. They have so much value. There's literal gold in them. That's why I call myself trigger alchemy, turning something that is seemingly valueless, worthless, and literally turning that into gold, something that is high of value. That is what the quote unquote negative emotions are. They have so much worth and value. The point is not to avoid them. It's to stop thinking that they mean something about your goodness or your worth. It's to stop thinking that they are limiting you in some way. It's to stop thinking that they and the beliefs and the thoughts that surround them are capital T true, because they're not. If they feel icky, if it feels painful, that is an indication that it is not true on a soul level. Period. I say that all the time. And if you're like, okay, Brie, so you've said that the circumstance is not causing my negative emotion, but some part of how I'm relating to it mentally is what's starting that domino effect. But then I also don't have to avoid the feeling negative. So like, what are you saying? The guides say, here's what we want to offer you. You can go as deep into this as you want to. If you don't feel like you have capacity to do like a full trigger alchemy, let me meet the source of this suffering, let me meet the source of this trigger and fully excavate it and alchemize it into gold, as Brie says, that's okay. We do recommend you creating some awareness around it, so maybe you can come back to it later. But at the very least, if what feels like you have capacity for it is just to start to recognize that you have the control over how you feel and therefore how you move through your life, like it is yours. And if you are feeling a way that does not work for you or is not the way that you want to feel, all you have to do is ask yourself, really your higher self and your guides, the question, how can I feel better? How can I feel more joyful? How can I feel more peaceful? How can I feel more relaxed and at ease? How can I do that in this circumstance? And then stay connected and listen. Stay present and listen. Keep your heart and your mind open and listen. And all of the answers for what that will look like specifically for you will be provided. And I'll just mention now as well, I have a free higher self connection and perspective guided meditation that is available. So if you check out my link tree, which is the link in the show descriptions, or if you go to my website, it's probably still a banner there, or you can go again to my library and it will be there. I created this guided meditation so you can literally sit back and relax and just listen to the prompts of connecting with your higher self and getting their guidance on what you need to see that you're not seeing, what you need to release that you're not releasing, how you can release it, what steps you can take moving forward. It's like a whole guided meditation so you can tap into some of the answers to those questions from your soul self, from your higher self, which is a skill that I wish every single person had, because you have all of the answers that you need for how to navigate your life within you. It's just we have to learn how to connect to that and how to elicit that information, right? How to strengthen that connection, because really it's innate, and how to elicit that information, which is why I'm offering this guided meditation to everyone for free. So you can check that out if that's something that you feel like would be supportive and you starting to get some of those answers. Coming back to the energy of ease. Okay, they're wanting to leave you with two other concepts around this idea of ease. One of them is around acceptance and releasing some of our judgments about things. And the other one is around openness and detachment. So first of all, it's that concept of being in greater appreciation and not judging things so much. Okay. When we are in judgment energy, we are in fear energy. And the reason why we know that this is a fear energy is because judgment says that something is good or bad, black or white. And really, those are later iterations of our ego mind trying to decide is something survivable or not survivable. It's all synonymous. This good, this right category is survivable, and the wrong or bad category is not survivable. Okay. Whenever we're trying to categorize things into kind of like black and white, that's when we know that our ego mind is running the show. And it's always doing so from that orientation of what is survivable and what is not survivable. Our soul knows that it's so much more nuanced than that, and that everything is survivable because nothing can threaten us, nothing can hurt us, nothing can taint or tarnish what we are, which is source energy. Like literally nothing can touch it, right? Are we having a human incarnation where technically maybe our physical body could get injured, or we could experience something that causes us some emotional pain? Sure. But none of those things actually hurt or threaten our life force energy, because nothing can destroy energy, right? Like, so that soul perspective has such a different way of looking at things. And that's the energy that's really helpful to start connecting with and shifting to and looking at the world with, because that's when we feel, one, a greater sense of safety, which then allows us to feel a greater sense of peace. Then we're super open and connected to the realm of possibilities, which is an expression deeply connected with that sort of soul source part of ourselves. And we're tapped into the power of source, the power of the universe when we're aligned with that energy. We're like plugged into that vibration. Our channel is super open. It's a very magical place to be. It's very unlimited, very abundant. So coming back around, when we are judging things that are happening to us or other people or circumstances as good or bad, we are in our ego energy, and there's some level of fear. We're feeling like we might not be safe, so therefore we have to start categorizing things as like, what is going to align us with safety again? What's going to align us with goodness again? Etc., etc. What the guides want you to know is that when you're always trying to put things in one of those categories, you're resisting what's happening, and you're really, really limiting what can come through for you. You're really limiting what you can receive. You're limiting blessings. You're limiting how quickly you can move through a chapter that was really only supposed to be like a blink. But because you got in such a state of resistance, it lasted for years, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that happens when we get in that judgment energy, which is an energy of resistance. Yeah, and they're showing me too that when we're in that judgment energy and we think that we're in a circumstance that's bad, or we're afraid of doing something wrong, then we get in this kind of forceful energy of feeling like we have to make something happen to get us back in alignment with the good, to get us back in the safe category. And we start forcing, and we start feeling really fixated on our actions and our effort, and we're really full of anxiety. And that's when that sort of like force and tense energy comes through that clicks us out of that ease and flow and peaceful state that we really want to be residing in, and that we should be residing in if we want to be able to move through that experience in a way that moves us through that experience the most smoothly, and also to where we can receive the maximum amount that that situation wants to give us. So what would that look like for you to even just start with mindfulness? Just start with awareness for how you're judging the circumstances at hand, especially the ones that you're really anxious to change, the ones that you would wave a wand and have be really different. Maybe you're trying to manifest to be different. Like maybe it starts with awareness of like, what things am I judging as like, yeah, it's fine, it's not great, but whatever. No, this is really bad. Or, oh yeah, this part's super good, right? Like, where are you judging things? How are you judging them? And what might it look like if you looked at all of it with neutrality? All of it. Or maybe even shades of gray. That could be another way of saying it. Like there's really good parts and there's parts that feel a little bit difficult, but it itself is not inherently bad or good. It just is. And maybe even you sprinkle in a little bit of, I know everything is happening for my highest and best good, so I'm not concerned with this ultimately being something bad. I don't really think that that's possible for me. And it's all shades of gray. It's all neutral on that level. What would it look like if you started looking at things like that? And if you have certain like circumstances that you're judging, you're like, oh my gosh, how could you ever look at that as good? Or how could you ever look at that and not have it be bad? There's some really deep stuff there. That's like a really deep place of resistance. And that might be a really helpful area to do that in the higher self meditation with, so that you can start to shift your energy around that to be something that's a little bit softer, a little bit more open, so that more can move through you. And again, you can expand your heart open, expand your channel open to receive and let things flow through a little bit more. Okay, so we've addressed where we're judging things as good and bad. We've seen the connection that that has with us resisting our circumstances and not being able to appreciate what they're offering us, and therefore not being able to let them move and flow, including for them to pass, for them to end, right? And for us to come into a new season. And then the other lesson that feels like it's going to help us tap into an energy of a little bit more ease is detachment and trust. I was just in a session with a client, one of my manifestation energy attunements, and we were talking a lot about this concept of trust. And the question that I asked her was, do you really think that it's possible that your intuition would lead you somewhere that would harm you? Do you really think that it's possible that your soul is going to guide you someplace that's not good for you? I think that's a really important question to think about, to answer to yourself. And if your answer is no, I don't think that it would ever harm me, I don't think it would ever lead me someplace that would be bad, I think a lot of us would probably benefit from checking in with that question a lot. Maybe even doing some like EFT tapping on it so that knowing, that awareness can really sink into our subconscious mind and start to be a little bit more front and center. Because if we believe that our intuition is only guiding us someplace good, and maybe even if you're thinking crazy, like it's leading you someplace even better than where you are now, which is where I tend to believe, then we wouldn't be in this state of anxiety. We wouldn't be freaked out and tensing up in this state of fear about things. Now, I'm not suggesting that all of a sudden you're not going to be afraid of anything, because I do think that it works like in a progression, right? It's a little by little. I do think that there can be times when we drop and shift a big piece of it, but I do think, especially for the sake of our bodies, like learning how to regulate in our nervous systems, learning how to like move through the world in a sense of safety, a certain amount of progression is really important and really healthy. But I think one of those things that can start to help your mind and your body root into a deeper sense of trust and safety is you reminding yourself that question and its answer. If I'm connected and following through on what feels like my intuition, on what feels like my soul, I can't be going someplace that harms me. I just can't. I don't think that's possible. It's not true to me. It's not true to my soul, right? So maybe I can take a deep breath. Maybe I can relax my shoulders, relax my belly. Maybe I can take another deep breath, breathe out some stress about this, and let it be a little bit more easy. Maybe the plan and all of it is already set out in front of me. I just have to follow and flow and move through it one step at a time. I don't need to understand what's happening 3 steps from now. That's something that the ego would want to know. I need to know 3 steps ahead to know what's going to be safe, because I need to analyze it and determine that it's going to be XYZ. No, I trust myself in this moment. And if I can build like a greater skill of how to be in this moment and be connected to myself and navigate this moment in a way that keeps me safe and joyful, that's all I have to do over and over and over again, because this present moment is only ever getting repeated over and over and over again. If I trust myself right now, and I trust myself to connect with my intuition to lead me into the next step, I don't have to fear anything. I don't have to be afraid of anything. I don't need to understand anything other than what is right now and what is coming next. Again, because that's all I'm going to be doing, repeated over and over again for the rest of my life. That is the kind of energy that keeps us in our sense of power and responsibility for how we're navigating, how we're being, and how we're moving forward, without getting into that sort of like tense and control energy about needing to determine or know what happens next. When we're in that energy of detachment, because that's also what it is, like a detachment of how it comes together, of exactly what the plan is, you're going to contribute with your actions in the here and now and what you're doing next, right? Which again is all there ever is, really. Like that's your part of the equation, and the universe is the other half of that, co-creating with you. Like it's not my business, the other stuff. It's not my business. I know it's a part of a divinely orchestrated plan that's only happening for my highest and best good. So I can relax. I can release a little bit. I can open, right? I can welcome in an energy of ease, and I myself can feel peace and trust that it's going to be okay. Like being able to have like that level of perspective on things and being able to really like root in those kinds of beliefs and feel deeper and deeper conviction in that is what helps us stay detached in the way that makes us the most magnetic and the most receptive to the blessings that do want to come in, and to those blessings coming in feeling easy. If you don't ever give it a chance to be easy because you feel like you have to work all the time and you're making it hard all the time, how can anything feel easy for you? How can it? It cannot. That is the answer. And the guides are saying, just try for like a day to say, okay, I'm going to follow my intuition and I'm going to stay in this motto of I'm going to let it be easy. And if I catch myself tensing up, if I catch myself forcing my energy, right? If I catch myself kind of acting in a way where things feel hard, I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to plug back into that energy of the word easy. And how can I move and be in an energy of ease? I'm going to let it be easy and see how it's different. See what things happen just the same, if not better, than when you were in this forceful, I got to make it happen, controlling, tense kind of energy. Just let yourself experiment with it, right? Let it see what it wants to show you when you're being led by that intention. Okay, so this is really fun. They have a new kind of spread that they wanted me to do in this episode for you. So the way that it's going to go, I have two different pulls right now, is basically this is going to be a message to different groups of people as they're moving through September. So the first card is going to be if the energy has been feeling this way. And then the second card is going to be just know that this is the next kind of season that you're moving into. And the third card is going to be keep this in mind as you're moving from season to season. Okay, so the first spread, the first card of the season that you've been in is the Justice card, where you're moving to the 3 of Swords, and to keep in mind as you're moving through the 8 of Cups. So let's break it down what that means. So if you've been in a justice season, you've been in a season that's been dealing with things that feel unfair or unjust in some way, and you've been trying to look at it objectively about how to create some sort of balance again, right? Or maybe how to find greater integrity, okay? With the Justice card, we're really thinking about, again, those concepts of fairness and integrity and balance, especially with this being a major arcana card too. If there's been like a heavy energy too, if it's just been feeling really intense, or maybe the areas that this is connected to are like really core and important areas in your life. Like if you're somebody that's really big on your working career and that's where this is showing up, or your home and family, or your relationship, or areas to do with your health, right? Like the major arcana tend to be like big themes of our whole life, not just like day-to-day situations, right? So it might feel like whatever this iteration is connected to like a greater series of events, a greater arc that feels important in your life. If you feel like you've been trying to gain clarity about how to move forward, or how to make adjustments, or how to sort of treat, like triage, where things are feeling extreme or out of balance. Again, this can be things with people being like maybe really judgmental or harsh, right? If you've been feeling like you're trying to address that, you're moving out of that season, okay? And it feels like the guides want to acknowledge that August really, it dug up some of that stuff to be seen so that you can work with that energy and so you can release it. And that feels very true, especially with this 3 of Swords. The 3 of Swords can be kind of a hard card to pull, because if you're looking at the image, it's literally 3 swords piercing a heart, and then there's like a raining background in the back. It is a card that has to do with heartache and despair and feeling heartbroken, or maybe feeling betrayed in some way. And it is important when we get this card that we acknowledge that there has to be emotional release. Like we have to feel and let ourselves emote some of those underlying like really big emotions, okay? You've got to let them flow. You got to grieve. You got to let that move. And the card to keep in mind as you're moving through this is the 8 of Cups, when the Cups, of course, is the suit that has to do with emotions, whereas the Swords is the suit that has to do with the mind. The 8 of Cups tells us, like, be careful not to let things get stagnant. Like if you even think of like a stagnant pool of water, like that's not healthy. You know, like it starts to maybe build up like moss or mildew. I don't know what it is. Or like, you know, mosquitoes start to come into it. Like it starts to not be a supportive aspect of the environment when it's just stagnant. Okay. So this 8 of Cups tells us like it's time to kind of get off the fence. It's time to stop being just kind of complacent with things. And it's time to let ourselves either release an old situation or address something that we need to address. And especially in combination with this Three of Swords, we got to feel the tough feelings. Like we just have to. It's a form of like purging old energies that are not helping us. They're just not helping us. And it feels like it's also going to help you start to release some of your energetic ties to the situation that Justice card was referring to, some of the things that felt kind of unjust, that felt like maybe there was unnecessary conflict or judgment, right? What's happening outside of us is always reflecting something in us, even if we don't always understand how. And I'm not to say that everything outside of us is our fault, because everybody else is making their choices and owning their own things. But there is a sort of beauty to this universe that there is always a connection between something that we're experiencing and something in ourselves, which is again why it feels like it's really beautiful that you're going to be in a period of releasing, like letting go of the release valve here of some painful emotions and releasing some stagnancy and some complacency emotionally, so that whatever all of that stuff was tied to in you exits the vessel. It's alchemized, it's moved, it's released, it's transmuted, so that you feel a little bit more open, you feel a little bit more clear. I do feel like there's going to be that opportunity for you to shift perspective about maybe how you're looking at the situation and how you're moving through it, tied back into the messages of August. That's going to help you move into greater integrity for how you act yourself, and also create better balance and maybe better boundaries and a sense of fairness, like within your own self and therefore within your whole life. So that message is for a certain group of people, if that resonates with you. And I have one other spread, which can relate to you. This can be an and thing, or it can be an or. So this second spread, if you have been feeling something that feels a little bit like the Seven of Cups, we will be moving into a Page of Swords kind of energy. And the thing to keep in mind is the Four of Cups. Let's talk about what that means. If you are in a Seven of Cups season, this is very Neptunian. It's very Piscean. It can indicate a lot of dreams. It can also indicate a lot of connection with fantasy and imagination, but it can also indicate there being a little bit of delusion, right? And I know that there's a whole thing of like Delulu is the Solulu. I don't know that this is like the most supportive Delulu energy. So another element of this can be like, if you've been considering so many options and you've been so confused by the fact that you have too many options, and just a sense of like overwhelm and wait, is this realistic or is this not realistic? Like that's the kind of energy of this card, the Seven of Cups. And even if you look at the picture, like they're looking in the sky and there's all these things and they're like, wait, where do I go? What's real? I don't know. Like that's the energy. Okay. So if things have been feeling maybe on one hand a little inspiring, but it's been hard to figure out how to move that into practical, how to move that into action, how to gain clarity. Literally clarity is coming with this Page of Swords. The swords, the suit of the mind, and the Page of Swords being a new idea, a new sense of clarity, a new sense of mental like invigoration, right? That is going to be available to you coming into the season. Something for you to keep in mind is this Four of Cups. And to me, this Four of Cups is the perfect embodiment of when we are in scarcity energy. Even if you look at the picture, this guy is sitting there, has 3 cups. The universe is literally trying to hand him another cup. And he's just sitting there with his arms crossed like, I don't know. I don't know if I want that. I don't think I do. No, thanks. The universe is trying to give you more. And sometimes our own fears, which really has so much to do with like our nervous system and our body. Are we in a state of safety? Are we feeling like we can be open, or are we such in fear and survival mode that we feel like we have to hoard and grip and control like what we have and analyze everything that we do from that point of view, which by the way only creates more of that same kind of experience. So it's always going to benefit us when, if we catch ourselves in that space, stopping, taking a breath, doing some nervous system regulation, coming back into a state of safety and aligning with that abundant perspective, which is the perspective of our soul. Because if we're not there, the universe can literally be trying to hand us things and we're like, no thanks. We're resisting the very blessings that we're asking for, which of course would be so silly. I think another element of this card is like being aware of the intentions behind the choices that you're making. Like, are you making choices based on fear, or are you making choices based on alignment, based on integrity, based on hope, hope and possibility and joy, right? Like what is ultimately fueling the decisions that you're making moving forward? Just starting with awareness about if your choices are ultimately being made based on you avoiding something. Are you trying to avoid disappointment? Are you trying to avoid a worst case scenario? And are your actions all built on you trying to not go the place you don't want to go? Because again, that is a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you're only going to create more of that. Okay. Acknowledge that. Do whatever you got to do to work through that. You got therapy. You want to work with a coach. You want to come work with me. I'd be so happy to help you, right? Just do whatever you got to do to help start to process and manage that, because you really can start to shrink, if not totally dissolve, that energy that feels like a boulder in front of you of, gosh, I'm so afraid of this other thing happening that I can't even let myself really claim, or I can't let myself move forward towards the thing that I want because of this like really big fear that's right in front of me, right? Like if it's never occurred to you, if you've never been told that it is 1000% possible for that fear to be totally dissolved so that you can move and act from that place of belief and from joy and love, I'm here to tell you it is 100% possible. I've done it over and over and over again in my life, and I've helped my clients do it over and over and over again. Your fears do not have to stop you. In fact, they have a lot of wisdom. They have a lot of gold for you if you know how to work through them, or at the very least, just start with that awareness that this is a fear thing and what I want to choose and act from is my soul thing. I'll come back to the fear thing later if I'm able to just choose the soul thing, with just acknowledging that the fear is not where I want to move from. Sometimes fears are sort of like small enough from of an energy that we can kind of step and move around them and keep moving forward. And sometimes the fears are so big we have to deal with them before we can really take action. So depending on what the situation is for you, it is totally possible. It's totally possible for you to still act with bravery and with courage towards the things that you want and not be held back by this scarcity energy. So you being able to address that and to feel a greater sense of confidence in yourself and feel a greater sense of like stability and groundedness and abundance so that you can really be making your choices and how you want to move forward. Coming back to this 7 of Cups, right? Like all of these options, all of these things that you're considering, like whatever you're choosing to act on now. In this next season, your next step, be mindful that it's not from the scarcity place. Be mindful that it's from your heart, from your soul, from your desire, from your joy. And I feel like this 7 of Swords, of you feeling clarity, you feeling ambition, you feeling motivation, is going to be yours. And that is really going to help get the ball rolling, get like the snowball rolling down the hill towards the things that you want. Guides, what are the last final messages that you want people to know moving through this Virgo season through September? Yeah, they're saying to integrate things and sort of finish out that last part of the cycle that they talked about at the beginning of the episode. It does involve a little bit of repetition, and it involves you staying really connected to your overall goal, your overall intention, as you sort of like build those reps and build that muscle. So for example, if there's anxieties that really come up a lot that are based on beliefs that you know aren't true, you've done some of that work to know that they're true, it will take some repetition of when they come up to say, okay, I know what this is about. I know the root of this is, XYZ fear, and I know that that's not true. What I really want for myself is ease and peace, and I'm going to choose to ground my body back into a sense of peace, and I'm going to choose to act from that state of peace, right? Like that is a repetition. That's one rep. You might need to do a little bit more reps through this month to really integrate it in and to let it root in and become something that's second nature. And don't be afraid of that. And they're saying, and don't forget too, that the more fun that you can have with this new experience that you're choosing, the less repetitions you're going to have to do overall. So the more fun you make it to, choose peace, the more fun that you make it to choose ease, the more fun that you make it to choose whatever this soul aligned thing is, the more joy you can inject into that, the more playfulness, not letting it be so serious. Like let some dang endorphins come up, like let the brain like have some feel good stuff, like in association with this new thing you're choosing, like a million times faster. A million times faster is this going to soak into your subconscious and become something that feels like it's second nature. It feels like we're going to leave that for the September energy forecast. Please, please, please DM me what you liked. Please DM me what questions you have. It's kind of a weird thing, like talking to myself and talking out into the ether. Like, my favorite thing about doing this work is building community and relationships with all of you. Like, I love getting to know what's going on with you. I love getting to know what parts of this are really exciting for you and what parts are really supportive and what you feel most curious about. And like, the relationships that I get to build with all of you is my favorite part of my Cancer rising. I mean, come on. Right? So please take a minute to message me, to comment on here, to DM me on Instagram, to send me an email. And please, I love hearing from you about what you like, what you took away, or even just a little bit like about you and why you're a part of this community. It fills my heart so much, and it really helps generate a lot of inspiration for more content, for more services, for more resources that I offer everybody. And my last little announcement for all of you guys is that we are going to end season 2 of Breakthroughs with Bree really soon. Probably take a little bit of break from the episodes and then come back for an amazing season 3. And in that time, I'm also going to be creating and getting everything ready to do my next group coaching program. My first one I did earlier this year was Flow Master, and the reviews for that were insane. People not even believing that they could have as much progress on some of their like really deep triggers, their really deep tendencies, their really deep fears. Like, they had no idea that they could change that much in just 6 weeks in one of these group coaching containers. And they were amazed. They loved it. And like, the relationships built between everybody that joined these groups was just, it was crazy. So if you have been interested in working with me and maybe the one-on-one program doesn't feel like it's the right fit or the right timing, maybe you've done my single sessions, like a channeling session, and you're wanting to do something where you can really apply some of the knowledge that comes through and get some guidance on that, then this group coaching program, these are really going to be the right fit for you. Go ahead and check out the link in the show description. It will either have a place where you can join the wait list for the group program, so you can be the first to hear, and the first people that sign up always get some sort of like early bird discount. Or if the program is live, then you're going to see and be able to sign up for that group program there. I can't wait to tell you guys more about it. So again, make sure that you're following me on social media or that you're subscribed to my email list so that you get to hear all about it, because I love being able to bring you things that feel like they're answers to prayers that a past me had, or that they're answers to questions that you guys have. Like, it's just my greatest joy to bring through this energy for all of you, because I know that when you get the answers to these questions that you have, you become even more aligned with your soul. You become even more of who you are, which literally benefits and blesses the whole world. I just love you guys so much. I hope you have a wonderful September. I know I will. It's my birthday month, guys. And I just love you guys all so much. I'll see you guys next time for more breakthroughs. Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode and for tuning in to Breakthroughs with Bree. Please share your favorite episodes with your friends and loved ones, and please like, subscribe, and rate the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it, as it helps me continue to create these episodes to help support your breakthroughs. I would love to stay connected with you, so please follow me on social media at Healing with Bree. Please check out my website at healingwithbree.net, which will always have the most up-to-date information about the services that I'm currently offering. And please consider using the link in the show descriptions to subscribe to my email list, so you can be the first to hear about any offerings. You can get all of the free resources that I offer, as well as get my weekly channeled messages. My deepest love and gratitude to you, and I can't wait to have more breakthroughs with you next week.